A social movement of extreme downsizing is taking off all over the country.
And many are calling it the tiny house movement.
Tiny homes are not a fad. They're here to stay, and you know that. So you're looking to buy or build a tiny home to live in, rent on Airbnb, or even travel the country with. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna teach you some of the most common tiny home mistakes I've seen. So that way, you can save thousands in the future and avoid these most common tiny home problems. Newsflash, you are currently the smartest that you have ever been, and also, at the very same time, the dumbest you will ever be. As you go through your tiny house off-grid journey, you will continue to learn more and more. So when setting up your electrical, plumbing, and other accessories and utilities, be sure to make sure things are upgradable or not as permanent as you think they really need to be. That way, when you inevitably want to change your electrical system because you realize you need way more power than you thought you would, it's easy to get to and easy to swap out. Pro tip, this is especially important when you are going with solar. See, solar tech is so much better than it was 5 years ago. It's insane. That being said, it will be so much better than it is today in just 2 years. So keep those things in mind. Don't make custom cutouts or plan your tiny house around a piece of utility. You're gonna change that out, you're gonna swap it out. It may fail, you might wanna upgrade it, or you might wanna add more to it. So remember, just like a house, how after many years you'll need to upgrade or swap out a water boiler or something along those lines, well, this is the exact same thing. I've heard horror stories of people that have a 2.5 gallon hot water tank that's electric. They realize very quickly that that is not enough shower capabilities for them. They're gonna need to upgrade. They're screwed because they boxed themselves into just that amount. But you do you. If you think it's best to build a custom wall or a custom cutout around a utility or an accessory like that, then have fun. But just remember, in 3 to 5 years when you need to change that, don't come yelling at me. This one is baffling, and I think we are just far too trusting than we should be. But you guys are really out here just buying tiny homes. Now, I don't mean just buying tiny homes, but I mean no pads, no helmets, no prep, just Pinterest, money, and vibes. That is just wild, ugly, and disgusting human behavior. You need to be doing research, and especially researching the builder or the company that you're buying the tiny house from. You need to know how long the builder or company has been making tiny homes for. Get some reviews from people that currently live in their tiny homes. You should ask them how their tiny houses are holding up over time. So, not just talking to their new customers who are gonna be super happy, very excited they just moved into a tiny home or they just got a tiny home to put on their Glamp site, but people who have had their tiny homes for some time. We've all been there. We get something, let's say it's from Amazon, and when we get it that first week, it's amazing. It is exactly what we thought it would be. We're like, why was this thing so cheap? Like, I don't understand. It's amazing. Then, about 2 months later, hopefully your product even lasts 2 months, it starts breaking down and not working as described. But you already left an amazing review on Amazon and you're too lazy to go back and update it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. When you do your research on your tiny home builder, you definitely want to know everything about them, but you need to be seeing how their products hold up over time. Remember, you or your guests are going to be actually living in this thing. Lastly, some of you guys are looking for a deal, so you're buying the tiny home secondhand. So you're buying it from the current owner and not the builder. That's all cool. I love a good deal too. No harm, no foul. As long as you are doing your research. When you buy a tiny home secondhand, you need to ask the current owner of the tiny home, who built it? What was the company? If it's their friend Jim down the road, stay away from it. But if it's from an actual builder that has a reputation, then you need to do your research on that builder and go through that exact same process like you were buying it for the first time. Doing that research is even more important when you're buying it secondhand. The honeymoon phase is over, all right? If it's ever going to start breaking down, it's now the time that that's gonna happen, and that's right when you just bought it. So you really wanna ensure that it comes from a reputable builder that has a long history of success. After year 1, 2, and 3, how's their tiny homes holding up at year 5? If you are building the tiny home yourself or having a builder make it for you, then you have to do this tip. Trust me, it sounds so small and so trivial, but in a couple years when you inevitably have to use it, you're gonna be so happy. And that is after the plumbing, the electrical, all of the utilities, etc. are installed, and before you put the walls up and hide them, get photos and videos and make notes about where everything is. This is gonna help you so much when, again, in the future, that you ever need to change or upgrade anything. Or let's say you're having a leak. Well, you know exactly why there's a leak in X, Y, or Z location. You don't need to check the roof. You don't need to check anywhere else. You know that you have a water line going right in the walls at that specific location, so you know what's wrong. On top of that, you don't want to accidentally drill a hole in a wall to hang up a piece of art, and then boom, you accidentally mess up your utilities, your electric, your plumbing, whatever. This one is so helpful. It's so small, but trust me, you have to remember you're the one in control of your own tiny home journey. So after it gets built, after you're living it, after you're owning it, you have to keep in mind that it's on you. It's your house. This isn't something that's very easy to just send back to get worked on. You need to know what's going on. You're in control. There are just some things you can't get around or over, I guess, and I want you to be honest with yourself about them. Ladders are annoying and they are dangerous. I'm not saying you're gonna fall if you have a ladder in your tiny home, but I am saying you basically will sooner or later fall because you have a ladder in your tiny home. But hey, they look a lot better and take up a lot less space. So that being said, just keep in mind, if you are gonna have a ladder, make sure that it's wide, make sure that it's easy to grab onto. Don't use circular poles to kind of drag yourself up. You want something flat, something horizontal that you'll be able to get good grip on. Just keep those things in mind and help yourself out. Because sooner or later, it's gonna be 4 a.m. and you're waking up because you got a tinkle, and you are gonna be so happy you listened to me. If you're going the stairs route, please, for the love of God, just build storage into the bottom of the stairs. Now, I always get people yelling at me in the comments when I talk about storage and keeping that in mind in tiny spaces. I mean, they say, you're the guy who runs the YouTube channel, Keep It Tiny. You should understand that this tiny living, tiny life, etc. It's not about, having a bunch of things with you. It's about living a minimalist lifestyle. That's all fine and dandy until you actually move into a tiny space. That's when you realize, wow, I really need to take storage into account. And if anything, that's when you have to take storage into account so much more than before. You don't have so much space to just toss things around. You very much so need to be intentional about the storage and the things that you bring into your house. I understand that. You also need to be intentional about how you're going to store the things in your space and adding locations for that. So keep that in mind. In your tiny home, if you're going to have just a simple staircase, take advantage of that dead space and just add some storage underneath. Story time. I'm an old washed up athlete who's out of his prime, who smokes cigars and also eats tacos. And I'm proud of it. The only problem is I never admitted that to myself. So I inevitably tore a muscle and had to go get an MRI done. I completely freaked out in the MRI machine and they had to call the whole thing off. The doctors rushed back into the room. It was wild. And that's where I learned that I had claustrophobia. Now, why the hell am I telling you guys this embarrassing story? Well, A, because I think it's funny, like the video, laugh at my pain. Another reason why I'm saying this also is a lot of your tiny homes, they make my skin crawl, okay? Your places look so small, tight, and cramped, and there's nothing wrong with that. They are tiny homes, but you need windows, okay? You need to allow the space to breathe and open up. It allows it to look better, have so much more flow, and you're gonna be so much more zenned out. Some of these tiny homes are honestly just sheds. They're just walls built up, boom, boom. It's just disgusting. I mean, to be honest, I understand utilitarian aspects of things, but please, for the love of God, just add more windows to your tiny homes and let in more light. It's better for you, it's better for the space, it's better for the feng shui. Just do it. Now, a lot of you are thinking, okay, great. I'm either gonna have a tiny home, I'm gonna build a tiny home, maybe I'm about to order one, or maybe I already have one, but you're gonna need a place to put that tiny home. So check out the video on the screen right now and learn my best tips that I have for you on buying land to put your tiny home on. Check that video out. Remember to keep it tiny. Peace.